So here we are. It's almost Thanksgiving, just a few days away. And we're continuing our series, Thankful and Grateful. And as we head into this Thanksgiving week, what I'd like to encourage us all to do is to do our very best to explicitly make an effort to be thankful. Because there is no doubt that we're living in a time with many challenges. We've talked about this a bunch over the past few weeks. I'm not going to list them all again. We all know what they are. And we have the challenges that we share, and there's no doubt that there are challenges in your personal life. So I'm not asking you to totally forget about those things. Of course, we want to recognize our reality. But I'm asking us not to focus on those things. Because if we focus on the challenges, man, that's just going to drag us down. What I'd like us all to do is actually look for the good. This is what we talked about last week. The importance of looking for the good. Making an explicit effort to find the things that we can be thankful for. And as we talked about last week, a key part of doing that is focusing on living each day. To set out with a specific goal at the start of each day to look for the good. In fact, we said we would try to be good finders, where we would actually step out trying to find the good in every situation. In order to do that, we've got to look around to see the good things that we have. But as I thought about this idea of looking around, I realized that sometimes I get easily distracted, no matter what I'm doing. And if I start looking around, sometimes my looking around will lead to challenges. Because as I'm looking around for the good things that I have, sometimes I glance down the street at my neighbor's car, and I see the good things that he has. And I start to compare my car to his car. And that car that I used to like so much of mine suddenly doesn't seem as good anymore. Or as I look down another part of my street, I see that great big house that's bigger than mine. And I start to compare my house to that house. And that house of mine that I used to like so much suddenly doesn't seem so nice anymore. So looking around for the good in our lives is healthy. But when we look around and we start comparing ourselves to others and comparing what we have to others, that's actually bad for us. In fact, the way Theodore Roosevelt put it was, comparison is the thief of joy. Because we can have things that we like and see the good in those things, but as soon as we start comparing them to other things, all we see is what it doesn't have, or all we see is what someone else has, and we enjoy our own things more. We enjoy our own things less. Or as the Apostle Paul put it, he encouraged us to avoid this idea of comparison, and he told us in a very explicit way that we could avoid it. What the Apostle Paul said is, pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done. And then you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else. So the Apostle Paul actually gives us a bit of a formula here for avoiding comparison. He actually says that we want to avoid comparison, but he knows that just saying, don't do that, avoid comparison, well, that's not enough. I can't just decide I'm going to avoid comparison. So he gives us very distinct action that we can take to avoid comparison. He tells us, pay careful attention to your own work. In other words, do what's in front of you today. You have things today that you can do. Do those things, and that will help you avoid comparison. Now, so often, when we think about comparison, we think of this idea of comparing ourselves to someone else, or things that we have to what someone else has. But in the time we're living in, I think we're in danger of another kind of comparison. Because of the pandemic, there are things that we normally do at the holidays that we are not going to be able to do this year. And that leads to a kind of comparison. We can start to compare what is the way things are in our current reality to what we wish they were, what we wish we could do. Or we can start comparing the way things are right now to the way they were in the past, Wow, that was so cool. Gosh, I can't do that now. I miss that so much. And that kind of comparison has a cost. Because just as we talked about last week, worrying takes us out of today. Right? Worrying caused us to focus on a future that may not even be, which took us out of living in today. Comparison does that same sort of thing. If we just sit and compare what we can do today to what we could do in the past, today suddenly seems less. If we compare today's reality to a long list of things we wish we could do, today seems less. Now, there's certainly nothing wrong with reliving fond memories. In fact, it's great to relive fond memories and think of those great times we've had in the past. And it's certainly awesome to hope for better things. But we don't want to get caught up in comparison, kind of step-by-step list of, wow, we used to do this and we can't do that anymore. I wish we had this and, oh, we can't do that now. That's toxic. Comparison is toxic. Comparing yourself to others is toxic. Comparing the current situation to something in the past is toxic. Comparing our current reality to things that we wish were to be is toxic. Comparison takes us out of today, and comparison takes from today. So just as we talked about last week, it is so important to stay in today and do the best we can with today, as things are. If we stay focused on what we have to do today, that keeps us in today. And that's what the Apostle Paul wanted us to understand. Because he said, pay attention to your own work, because that leads to satisfaction in a job well done. And he told us that when we're satisfied with what we're doing, that's how we avoid comparison. So we really need to do the best we can with what we have. By doing that, that helps us recognize the good things that we have. So as we look around for the good, we can find the good. If we do the best we can with the good things that we have, that helps us stay in today, helps us to be more satisfied. It avoids this trap of falling into comparison. And one of the things that's so important to remember, that every good thing that we have is a gift from God. And that includes everything. That includes your intellect, right? That includes your personal skills. That includes your sense of humor. It includes every good thing we have is a gift from God. And those gifts from God are there to help us enjoy our own lives. Absolutely. That we should enjoy our lives as we live them, using the gifts that God has given us. But when we recognize our gifts, I think we see that we also have the opportunity to impact the lives of others. Paul tells us that you will be enriched in every way so that you can always be generous. And when you take your gifts to those who need them, they will thank God. So how you spend your day really matters. Doing good really matters. When we use the gifts we're given and do the best we can with them, that really matters. So as we look around, we want to be looking for the good things that are there and be thankful for them. And we also want to look around at how we can make a difference. Because the reality is, the good that we have and the good that we can do go hand in hand with one another. That the good that we have enables us to do good not just in our own lives. It enables us to do good for someone else. And Paul tells us that something amazing can happen there. That as we do good for someone else, in fact, if we look around and we find the good we have, that lifts us up. And as we recognize these are gifts from God, that helps draw us closer to God. And then when we take those and we do good for someone else, something starts to happen. It, of course, helps them in their life right now, because we're helping them out with a real need, but can also help develop their relationship with God. And imagine what that cycle starts to do. As you embrace the gifts that you're given, recognize they're from God, help someone else, you immediately start to see a benefit in your own life. But then if your help starts to help someone else have a greater relationship with God, what is that going to do in your own life? So I think the best way to have richness in our own lives is to stay focused on today. Stay focused on what we can do today. So we're going to look for things in our lives that we can be thankful for. And we're also going to do our best to be a positive influence in someone else's life, because it impacts their life, but it also impacts our own lives. You know, and I got to see an amazing example of this past week. Because as part of this church, you are already making a difference in people's lives. Because just this past week, we were able to assemble holiday meal assistance for over 70 families right here in Warner. And this was such a great example of looking for good in the current situation. Now, as many of you know, we've done holiday meal assistance for Thanksgiving for many years. And in the past, the way we've always done that is with boxes of food. But as you know, we're in a pandemic, and that creates challenges. So as our missions team began preparing for distributing these boxes of food, and as they did their research and as they contacted the suppliers told them that they weren't certain that they would be able to provide the food necessary to fill all those boxes. Now, as that happened, our missions team had two choices. One choice would have been just give up. Oh, we can't get the food we need? I guess just this year we can't do it. That was a reasonable choice. Or they could get creative. And that's exactly what they did. They didn't look back at the past and say, well, we always do boxes of food. We can't do boxes of food. We're just not going to do anything. They said, no, there's a real need. There's always a real need. And this year, there's especially a need because so many people are facing food insecurity during the pandemic. So they said that, well, you know what? We can't assemble the food that's necessary, but we can help people get the food they need. So they made a very simple but really important adjustment. Instead of giving boxes of food, they gave out gift cards to the grocery store. And that empowered people to go get the food they need on their own. So we've been able to help them get what they need by facing the reality that we're in and finding a solution to it. And this was all made possible by the combination of generosity, your generosity, as well as the generosity of other folks around town, and the creativity of our missions team. And this created opportunity because we got to be a church that looked at our reality and decided that we were going to make a difference. And we worked within what we could do, and were able to directly impact the lives of families right here in our own community. It also allowed us to take a first step to creating a bit of a relationship, because I personally got to greet members of over 40 of those families. Just a chance to say hi, say, hey, we care about you. We hope you're doing okay during all this stuff. And then each family was empowered to go home with food assistance that they seriously needed during this holiday season. So, as part of our church family, you are a key part of doing this good. You are already helping people right here in this community. And what I want to encourage us to do is look for more of those kinds of opportunities, collectively as a church as well as individuals. Because I think what we see here is that when we stay in today, when we see the reality of today, we don't just see the challenges. We start to see the opportunities, and we step into those opportunities. And when we do that, good things happen. And the Apostle Paul actually gives us some encouragement along this line. What Paul says is, So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Now, there is no doubt that things are different this holiday season. So what we're all going to need to do is look for the good that we can do. Doing that keeps us encouraged, and it helps us stay focused on today, to stay in today. And when we do the good that we can, we will see more good come from it. That's exactly what Paul is telling us, that as you're going along and you're doing the good that you can, just because you don't see immediate changes in someone's life, just because you don't feel an immediate change on your own, don't stop. It's a process, and it builds over time. As we do the good that we can do, and good comes from it, it impacts our own lives. And that encourages us, even if just a little bit. But it enables us to do more good. It helps us to see more of the good that we already have. And we start to see more opportunities to do good. So what I want to encourage us all to do, kind of during this crazy season that we're living in, I want us all to look for the good that we can do. So I came up with some ideas for things that we could do. Some of them are really simple. Some of them take a bit more involvement. And these are just some initial ideas that I have. I'm sure that many of you can come up with much better ideas than these. And if you do them. Do them. Share those ideas with other people and do the good that you can do. But here's a few simple things we can do, I think, to get us started. One of the challenges right now is that the pandemic is creating a lot of loneliness. And there's simple things we can do to help that. So I want to encourage each of you to think of 3 people that you know who maybe don't have a lot of family around, or maybe they're alone, or maybe they're just having a hard time. And just send them a holiday card. I know people don't send Christmas cards like they used to. Doesn't mean you can't send Christmas cards. Right? Send them a Christmas card. Send them a Thanksgiving card. Just get a blank card. Get a blank sheet of paper even. And just write them a note. Just say, hey, I want you to know I'm thinking about you. I hope you're doing okay. I know things are hard, but please know that you're loved and someone cares about you. Or if you know there's someone who's kind of alone and feeling really down and you want to kind of go one step farther, give them a call. Give them a call. Say, hey, I care about you. How are you doing? And then just listen. Don't try to fix things. Don't make promises that may be hard to keep. Just listen to what they have to say. Now, those 2 things cost very little. The phone call costs nothing. Sending a card costs just a few bucks. But if you're able to and you want to go a step farther, I would encourage you to, if you have the resources available, to participate in the Warner Christmas Project. As many of you know, the Warner Christmas Project is something that happens here in town every year, and our church has had the opportunity to be a part of it many times, where we actually buy gifts for kids in need. Families where kids would otherwise have nothing to open on Christmas morning. The way it works is really simple. You just head down to Sugar River Bank. You'll find a list of kids. Last year was stuck to the wall. I assume it's still the same this year. Gives you the kid's age, a gender, and what they asked for. You don't know the kid's name or anything. You buy that gift, you wrap that gift, you take it back to Sugar River Bank. And then once all the gifts are assembled, we'll actually, this year from the church, we'll distribute those gifts to the families. And think about what you're giving when you do that. You're giving a child a chance to have a Christmas like every child deserves to have. You're also giving a parent an opportunity to have joy and pride on Christmas morning as their child has something to open, as their child is able to participate in Christmas as so many children are able to. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Kids ask for a different level of gifts. You just choose something that's right for you. Make that decision to step out and help their life be better this Christmas. Because my friends, the road to having a satisfying life involves just a few steps. First thing is that we want to be thankful for what we have. We need to make being thankful a goal. And then as we focus on our days, let's not focus on what we can't do. Let's focus on what we can do. And then as we do that, let's be fully in today, doing the good that we can with each day. Now, as we wrapped up last week, I mentioned a declaration and a prayer that I encourage you to make every day this past week. I want to encourage you to do it again for another week. Honestly, I would encourage you to make this a part of your daily life long into the future. So remember, that declaration was, "This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it." And then the prayer, "Lord, please reveal your will for me today, and please give me the ability to do it." I am certain that if you start each day with that prayer, God will answer that prayer. So as we go through our days, we want to try to find the good in each day. And when we do, we will see it. And when we look for the opportunities to do good, we will find them. Because, my friends, the key to living a full and satisfying life is thankfulness. The way we achieve that is to set out each day with the goal of finding the good that already exists, and then to go one step further, to set out each day to be the good that helps someone else when you can. Let's make it a point to step out as we head into this holiday season. Let's embrace what we have, and let's do the good that we can. Please join me in prayer. So, dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I want to just take a moment and just offer us each an opportunity to consciously connect with the good in our lives. Lord, I pray that we would each see the good things that we have. Lord, I pray that you would give us all the courage to look away from the can'ts and instead focus on the cans. Lord, I pray that comparison would not come into our minds this year, Lord, or any time that we're feeling concerned about comparisons, we start to compare to what we wish things were. The Lord, that you would draw us right back into today and say, man, there are so many good things here today. Yeah, everything's not exactly like we wanted, but there is so much good, and there is opportunity. So, Lord, I pray that we would each step into the opportunities in front of us, Lord. So I pray that we would focus on the gifts you've given us and focus on the gift that we can be in someone else's life. And we would do the good that is in front of us. Lord, I pray for a happy, healthy, and safe Thanksgiving for everyone. As people are together, Lord, I pray that they would take joy in the people who are there with them. I know that so many can't gather quite as they would like to. Lord, I pray that people would be willing to step out and employ technology. Just Zoom with those you can't be with currently, and just connect as you can. And we would all embrace those gifts and opportunities. Lord, I praise you for all we have. I thank you for the gift of this church family. I thank you for the gift of being able to step into the lives of the families around town who are so in need. Lord, and I thank you for the gifts you give us that empower us to help those around us throughout this Christmas season, Lord. I praise you, Lord. I thank you for all we have. And I pray all this in Jesus' name.